You know, and I know, and they know, and we know, we go all in. You know, and I know, they know, cause we know, we go all in.
What up? What up? What up? Welcome to the newest edition of What You've Been Missing. It's your boy K Dizzle DC. It is your boy Have Streams.
What's
Happy
good?
Sunday,
What's good?
my guy. Happy
Man, how
Sunday.
you feeling, K Dizzle? How you
I'm
feeling?
feeling
Happy Sunday.
look. Even though my Wizards lost, I'm feeling fantastic, bro. I'm feeling
Damn,
fantastic.
man.
We're in the
Reminded me
building.
already, man. Representing. You see my hat in the bottom of the screen.
Nah, man. No, it's any heartbreak, bro. We kind of took that L. I mean, we fumbled the ball, early on against what's the name, and now we putting ourselves
Mm.
behind. But it's what it is. But look, welcome to the All Dressed Up podcast. You find us here every Sunday at 9 p.m. Thank you guys for coming in. Hey, 410 is in the building
What it
already.
do? What it do?
Appreciate you, man. Hey, look, this week we really wanted to talk about this last week, but we're gonna get into
Yeah.
this. Y'all see the title of the show. My man have put the joint out there. We're gonna get into it. So it's gonna be real interesting pushing forward. Like, a
Hey,
lot of
man.
people have a lot of different topics this week, yo. A
It's
lot
been
of people
it's
have
been a,
a
it's
lot of
been a
different
wild
topics.
week. It's been a funny week, K Dizzle. Plus,
It
we have
has.
to mention it's our Sweet 16 tonight. Happy Sweet 16, bro.
Sweet 16. You are right.
Episode
Sweet 16.
16 already. Appreciate everybody from day one. Love you, Shanae Wilborn. How you doing?
Hey, Sinead, what's up? What's up? Welcome,
So,
welcome, welcome. I got
16 episodes in, man. How you feeling so far? You enjoying
feeling
yourself?
good. I'm feeling good. I'm loving the
How you
consistency.
doing,
I'm
Miss
loving
Pat?
the folks in here. Shanae's in the building. Shout out to Shanae 410 Beard. Mama Hef is always in the building. Sweet 16 is always a good feeling.
16 candles.
I got three more that got to hit 16. I swear to God, it ain't coming fast enough. It's
Oh
not
man,
coming fast enough.
how
Okay.
was your experience today? Driving with your baby girl,
First of
getting her
all,
ready
what my
for a
baby, it
driving
was my
test.
oldest, right? And so it was 5 hours of driving. Look at what's going on with my cat.
That's a lot of driving, man.
5 hours. No, well, it wasn't all driving. It was a little bit of parking. It was a little bit of parallel parking back and forth on the road. It's stressful.
Well, you made it. You back in one piece.
I'm here.
That's
God
a
is
good
good.
sign. I
God
tell
is
you
good.
what, man, I had a wild Friday night. Shout out to the Carters, Melinda Heflin. You got to change your name, sweetheart. You got married.
Congratulations, man.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Shout out to
I had
Melinda.
the pleasure of walking my aunt down the aisle Friday night. It was
Oh
special.
man.
I was so
Oh
nervous,
man.
Kay. All I wanted to make sure that I did not do was trip and fall, and I just wanted to just keep that good smile and just look around and just do my job, get her to the point. And it was a beautiful wedding, though. We had a great time. So thank you guys very much,
Fantastic.
and
Fantastic.
much
Uh,
love to your future endeavors.
congrats. Marriage is a big step. Marriage is a huge step. It's a huge commitment. And look, more power to you. More power to you. One thing we do talk about on this show a lot is love, relationships. And Melinda, congrats.
And
Stay
how they
tuned.
are
We're gonna talk
ruined.
in how you can ruin them, how you can fix them.
Right.
So we always talking about those things and keeping them focused on it. But shout out to family, man. Family's important,
Yes,
first and
sir.
foremost. But yeah, man, let's get into sports. Okay, let's come on, Hef.
All right,
Bring your
man. So
sport.
this is my favorite time of the year. I don't know if you guys know, but it's the NBA playoffs, man. The play-in is over. All that BS is gone. If you didn't know what was going on, it's okay, because now we're back to our original 1 through 8 seeds. So let's run it down. So far, with the first games out of the way, like K Dizzle said, our Wizards we took a L. Russell Westbrook was playing crackish.
Yes.
He had the slow face. I don't know what happened to him today. Hopefully he comes back strong. The Knicks and ATL are playing right now. Should be winding down. Should be like a couple minutes left in that game, so we'll see. I think the Knicks are gonna take that series, man. I don't
You
know.
think the Knicks are gonna take that series?
Yeah, I take the Knicks in that one.
They might pull it. They
Did you
just
see
might
the
pull it.
game winning shot? Did you see the game winning shot that your boy Chris Middleton hit against the Heat?
I did not.
Oh, what a
I
good
did not.
shot, man! With 1 second left to go, so they take a 1 game lead in that series. Brooklyn and Boston, just like you thought, the big three for Brooklyn, they scored or assisted on like 98 of all their points of that night. Yes, sir. So they're gonna probably sweep Boston. I don't see them losing the game in that series. They're at 1-0. But what about the Clippers and the Mavericks? Who would have thought Doncic would have came out and gave the Clippers an L off the break? The Clippers are looking just like they did, like they were in the playoffs last year. Big disappointment,
Hey. Anything's
you
possible
know.
when you get to the playoffs, bro.
Hey,
Anything's
did you see what
possible.
happened in that first game in that Clippers game?
No, I did not. The only game I have caught this week is the game we just lost. That's the only one I've gained this week so far.
That game had the Kawhi Leonard play.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Yeah,
The one you
let's
telling me to
show.
show everybody?
Yes, sir. Let's pull it
Oh
up.
my gosh.
So the
Okay.
Clippers lost to the Mavericks, right? But your boy Kawhi Leonard, he doesn't talk much, but I tell you what, he definitely let this dunk speak for itself. Let this dunk speak for itself.
Hold on,
This
man.
is an NBA playoff dunk.
Yeah, it was a playoff dunk. Hold on, let me pull it
And the
back in
funny
for a
thing
second.
is, he didn't show any emotion, man. He just banged on
He
this man,
doesn't. He's not an emotional guy.
and his New Balances stayed tight, and he just turned
He
around
stays
and went
super
down the other
clean.
side.
Here it is. Here it is.
For the Clippers, after finishing with the fifth best record in the NBA and a ton of injuries during the regular season, Leonard gets the steal, 3-on-1.
Oh!
Falls it down.
Well, look, right back down the other side of the court.
Uh,
You know, right back down to the other side of the court. Couple high five, that's all.
nah, that's
Take
supposed to
that with
ride.
you,
Everybody
sir.
talking about that.
Take
What's up,
that with
Arizona
you.
Ron? He in the building.
Take that with you, sir.
Go to sleep.
Mm.
And now he laugh.
What he do? How he laugh? Hey, man, that's a hell of a play. That's the best play so far. The first playoff games. Then your boy Carmelo came out with the three to the head a few times last night. Gave the Portland Trailblazers a spark. They took a surprise and 1-0 lead against the MVP led Denver Nuggets. And then, last but not least, another tough one for me, man. I don't know what happened today with the Lakers, bro. What
Shout
happened,
out to the
man?
Phoenix Suns.
What happened? Laker Nation, what happened, man? Chat, tell me what happened to LeBron today. I'm glad I stopped gambling, Kay. I'm so happy I stopped gambling because I would have bet the house on the Lakers in game one against Phoenix, and it didn't happen. Both superstars for both teams, Chris Paul and LeBron, left the game with some slight injuries. Both came back, but the Lakers lost 99-90. So interesting set of games, man.
Shout out to the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah,
If they pull that off, bro. If they pull that off, I'm just saying.
it's gonna be yeah. What would you say?
If they pull it off, they pull it off. It's going to be
What
the
does that
upset.
do? What does that do for LeBron's legacy if the Phoenix Suns win this series?
What does it do for their legacy?
For LeBron's legacy in the
I don't know.
conversation that people always take.
I'm gonna let all the LeBron the stands to write that legacy if they get put out by Chris Paul, the 36-year
Mm,
old Chris Paul,
State Farm agent.
State Farm agent, in the Phoenix Suns with the young Phoenix Suns team. I'm gonna let y'all write that because they took that L. They took that L pretty good. So
So check this
I'm gonna
out,
let
right?
y'all tell. But look, it's heating up. It's heating up. The Wizards
Check
got
this
another
out.
opportunity to make things
So
right.
if you're from DC, if you're from South Carolina, the name Kwame Brown might ring a bell, right? For different reasons, right? If you're from the DC area, if you're from South Carolina, the name Kwame Brown might ring a bell. If you're from other parts of the, in the country, if you hear Kwame Brown, you might unfortunately associate his name now with being an NBA first round, first overall pick bust.
Yes.
And that's something we wanted to touch on before we get into our main topic tonight. But it was an interesting media week, man. I'm gonna tell you, K Dizzle. I never would have thought that I've never heard Kwame Brown even talk this much, right? Because the guy, I've been a Bullets fan since I was born. I came
Right.
out a Bullets Wizards fan, so we would be terrible every year, but we never had the first overall pick,
No.
and we would always get like ninth, 10th pick, you'd always get screwed in the lottery. So this year we get the first overall pick, and I'm like so excited, man. Like, we're gonna get a superstar, we're gonna be a championship contender.
Yeah,
And they're telling me, look, man, Michael Jordan's handpicking the Kwame Brown kid. And I'm like, I never heard of him, but Michael Jordan's picking him. So I gotta say, we got a shot, right?
right.
Man, I gotta, if we look back, I'm not gonna, talk about the guy bad, but I wouldn't say it was a successful run for him, with the Washington Wizards, but he did have a 13-year career. You got to be doing something to be in the league for that long. But
But
what
did
we're
you hear?
talking about, go
Did
ahead.
you hear his story though? He said they had picked him first in hopes of trading him for Elton Brand.
Yeah, and that trade got pulled back. I
Trade got pulled
remember,
back.
I remember they had him working out. Hey, Miss Rona,
Hey,
good
Rona, what's
evening.
going on?
I remember they had him working out against Tyson Chandler, and Michael Jordan was in the gym, and he actually like got to watch them go 1-on-1 in different drills for like 8 to 10 hours, and picked them over Tyson Chandler.
Hmm.
So Michael Jordan's never been known to have a real good, sense of talent or direction for leading a team. But the reason why we're talking about Kwame Brown, the Up and Smoke podcast, man, with Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson.
Yep.
They had Gilbert Arenas on there, and the talk of the town has been, pretty much them calling the guy bust. And Kwame Brown didn't take it well, man. He went viral, went on IG Live, and went on like 5 or 6 rants. Went on Stephen A. Smith, went on Charlemagne the God. I mean, that got real nasty.
Anybody who wanted to smoke, that's what he did. He
I
just
mean,
he
he
just
went from calling Matt Barnes Becky with the good hair to talking about Derek Fisher, messing with his wife and
messing
taking
with
his
his
kids.
oh yeah, he
Talking
went low.
about Steven Jackson being a fake blood, being in the strip clubs every night of his career. Talking about your boy Charlemagne the God being, taking that plea for being a delinquency to a minor.
The
So,
universe gave that man the mic and he
mm,
ran with it. He ran with it and he's soaking up that 15 minutes of getting back in the spotlight, bro.
I'm
You know,
telling you, man.
I'm not even gonna fake like he had an easy way in the NBA. It was hard as hell. He got drafted by Michael Jordan, and Michael Jordan beat the hell out of him because that's what MJ do. He beat the hell out of his teammates. There's no doubts about that. But when you the number one draft pick, you automatically got your target on your back. Charlemagne was out of pocket for exposing Kwame's family. Look, a lot of things were said. A lot of things were said in the heat of everything that went on, and just pushed it to wherever it went. And he's got 15 minutes of fame, and so he's gonna keep burning it 100.
But
percent
he even responded to that because he had made comments of like, he wasn't raised by his dad, and allegedly his dad had committed some crimes, in the South Carolina area, and he was raised by his mom. He refers to his mom a lot when he talks in his rants, and basically he also has some brothers that has some issues too from the same, family side, and he kind of was disappointed that Charlemagne tried to expose that because Charlemagne's from the South Carolina area too.
Yeah,
So basically, he was like, you're telling all these rumors, and my 16-year-old son got to hear it coming from you when that's not even true.
oof.
So that's when he took it to Charlemagne's case, as far as what he allegedly did with a 15-year-old, and he started going at the race baiting, and he was talking about like how the white man has black men on these platforms talking about black men. You know what I'm saying? And like he was really trying to take it there, saying like Charlemagne is getting protection because he's got all the corporations behind him. And Stephen A. Smith is sitting up there talking about, black athletes and putting people down, and basically he was a kid. He was saying, and I felt that when he went there, he was like he was a 17, 18-year-old kid with a lot of pressure, but he graduated with honors and he had a good head on his shoulders, and he's done well with his money. So I think it is kind of messed up for Steven Jackson when he said, his life was dirt because he was a bust, and that whole conversation with them going back and forth was crazy, man. If you get a chance, check that out. But
Yeah,
yeah, man, it's disappointing though.
I checked some of it out, man. I'm gonna tell you, like I said, it's him soaking up. I checked out both his conversation and Matt Barnes' conversation, their clapbacks,
Becky with the good
and
hair.
They were hilarious. They were hilarious. And they all taking personal shots. And you gonna come back in that form in that fashion when you do. Matt Barnes
But
tried to say, hey, come on the podcast so that we can air it out. And that was a strategic move to make money on the podcast. And Kwame was like, to hell with you and your platform. I don't need your platform. I got a platform. And his platform is 15 minutes strong. But
hey,
it's what it is, man.
it's hitting heavy
It's
though,
what it
man.
is.
It's
But
definitely getting heard and seen by the right people. But Gilbert Arenas said Kwame Brown does not want to be played with. He told stories about him and his boy beating up like 6 security guards one night at the club. So he said he's the real Debo, but he'll put his hands on you. So
hey,
and
if
Steven
anybody if
Jackson,
anybody know Agent Zero knows. If anybody knows,
right?
Agent Zero knows
He
all
brought
about
all his
that
guns
stuff,
to
man.
work. Gilbert Arenas, but but your boy Steven Jackson though he started off his soliloquy like, I'm not gonna disrespect you, Kwame. I'm just gonna talk about how much you suck. And then he was like, your life was dirt. I said, oh man, how you gonna start off by saying you're not gonna disrespect somebody? And then 5 seconds later, you turn around and say the man's life is dirt. Like, sheesh, it's getting
That's
ugly, man.
disrespectful. I'm not gonna do it, but I'm gonna do it. And you did it for the rating. So look, let that man Kwame Brown go back on his tractor,
Let
live
him
his
live,
life.
man.
You know, you know, graze his farm and do what he do. Stop pulling that man up name in everybody's mouth. Hawks just took game one.
Shout out to my man Rob from
Hawks just took
Flatbush.
game one.
The Knicks
That's
can't
what it
figure
is.
it out, man. They just like the Wizards, man. Come sit down after round one and chill out. There's a spot right next on the bench, right next to you.
Look, let's get to the nitty gritty of tonight's conversation, which I
You
think
doing
is
you doing
important.
business?
Huh?
You doing a
No,
business?
we're not doing business this week. I thought I got
Okay.
one, but I'm gonna pause on that one because I want to do more research on that one
You got to
because it's
investigate the business. What's going
I
on?
got
You
to
got something?
investigate the business.
Is it a front? Is it a front for something
It's
illegal?
not a front. It's not a front. But before I'll tell you, let me do more investigation. They
I
just
never heard
opened
one
up a
of our
firm.
businesses get put a week off due to investigation. Okay, I don't
Yeah,
know, man.
pending
Somebody trying to be
investigation.
affiliated to this.
They just opened up a firm in Bowie, Maryland. So I want to do more research before I shout them out. I'm gonna just keep it 100. I ain't gonna hold
That's
you.
hilarious, man.
You look, you got a platform, you send people to the right places, you want to make sure everything's copacetic. But look,
Yeah, I can't send you to the car dealership and get your head cracked. Go see my man Curtis.
there's a couple. Hey, look, we know there's a couple spots we ain't sending folks.
Yeah, you
Point
can't
blank.
do that.
So ain't doing it. But look, the main topic of tonight, if you saw the title, if you didn't, let me repeat it. Who is raising your kids? Okay.
Mm.
On on this podcast, we talked about who you listening to, who you talking to, the ways you ruin relationships, the ways you can keep relationships, the differences, between men and women and how they interact with each other, communication, mental health. What about the children?
What
To
about the
ignore them is so easy.
and it's
What are
funny,
you?
it's
How
funny, man.
are you? Those are lyrics, by the way. How are your kids being raised, and who is raising them? Okay.
That's a good question.
I look.
It's
It's
funny.
different. Yeah, it's different right now, right? Um, because kids have iPads and tablets in their hands before they can say actual words, right? Am I lying?
Nah,
No, they have iPads
preach.
and tablets in their hands before they can say words. So we understand how technology plays a huge role um, in the growth of your kids, in the development, and also in their social interaction. Um, and we just talking about the influences, really the influences.
It's
So,
funny. It's funny you brought it up because I was at the just real quick. I was at the barber shop and I was listening to a guy. He was cutting hair and he did like 6 years in the feds, right? One of those barbers. And then I had the other guy, and everybody was in the chairs, and we were like talking about the same thing we're talking about.
mhm,
And the one guy said something funny as hell because he was like, "Well, there was a time back in the day where I was in keyboard class in the 8th grade, and that's when I learned how to type. Now my kids learn how to type on their iPad at 2. So technology is great, right? And
Yeah.
then and then the other guy was like, well, you know, but in my opinion, the kids aren't growing socially, because everything's, through computers or through a technological barrier where you don't have that face to face interaction. I was talking to my girl about that at dinner tonight. Like,
Hmm.
the things that we would have to face would be like talking about when we were growing up, okay? We would have to face things face to face. We would
Right.
have to deal with bullying face to face. We would have
Right.
to deal with, the whole, what you wearing, keeping up with the Joneses, like in the classroom or around your neighborhood, like with your clothes and everything. Now it's like people can sit behind these keyboards and these computers, and I don't think it's the same type of growth and development mentally. You know what I'm saying? When these kids are going through these types of experiences, like we would actually have to deal with repercussions if you said the wrong thing out your mouth growing
Right.
up as a kid. Nowadays these kids can sit back and be Twitter thugs and talk all crazy and show guns on the internet and never ever live that life at all.
Very true.
So it's
So
interesting, man, because we can take it different ways. But go ahead.
no, 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 no. I mean, you talked about some of the, those are some of the negative aspects of social media, right?
Right.
And one of the things that the negative aspect you said is with social media, um, the the main goal of social media is to do what? Is bring us together, right? Is
Allegedly.
it is it bringing us together, but at the same time keeping us apart? What do you think on that with
I
that
mean, you
question?
got to think about it, man.
What's up, James?
What's up, boss? But you got to think about it. If I'm talking to a camera, I'm not necessarily being social. I'm expressing myself to an empty room with a camera rolling. And a lot of these people that are YouTube stars now were putting in work 10 years ago when we didn't think it was cool to sit in a room and talk to a camera. To be honest with you, we had personalities, we had different things that we thought were fun, but we didn't necessarily sit in a room and do all the computer stuff. And we were out and about playing sports, interacting,
Hmm.
knocking on our friends' doors, riding bikes, picking our friends up. Like it was a much more collaborative face to face experience, growing up. Like,
Right.
I remember being in the neighborhood and just like it was a whole nother world from
Yeah.
from just being in the house all day. So going to school and coming back home, it's like now these kids don't experience that. Now these kids, they go to school and now they're not even going to school full time or whatever they're doing. And they come home, they Twitch stream, they're playing a video game for hours, or the parents who have the little ones, they kind of, I like to say, set it and forget it. Like, they kind of sit their kids down with the iPads and just let them go. And look who's the star right now. Like, if you look at the top view videos on YouTube, they're kid shows. You know what I'm saying? You got the kid Ryan who went from like making toys to now they just watch this kid play with toys. Like,
Mm.
Kate, when would you ever think that kids would get famous from other kids watching them play with toys, man?
Hey,
It's
look, there's a
insane.
lot of things I thought that wouldn't be possible, but it's
And no
possible.
disrespect to the people who are getting paid off of that. I'm not
No,
trying
no.
to disrespect you.
Arizona Ron says technology is like a gun. Woo, woo, Ron.
He
It can be
dropping already.
dangerous depending on how we use it. Same for the kids, also.
Talk about that, Kermit.
Wh- hold on. Wait a minute. Here's the name. Kids are a reflection of their parents. If you read a book, your kids will read a book. Is that
That's very
always?
true.
Is that 100% true, Shanae?
If you start from early, if you start them like to have a routine, I would say so. I mean, they might eventually grow out of it and start having their own opinion about not wanting to read the damn book.
But
But
here's so
if
we
you
talking
start your
about the.
kid off, K, with an iPad, right? Let's talk about this real quick. I don't mean to cut you off, but
Go ahead.
if you give your 2-year-old the iPad, and that's where you're starting him or her, and that's their first thing that they can kind of relate to,
Hmm.
because you got to remember, as a child, that's when your brain is the most susceptible to learning.
Right.
You're learning, you're absorbing everything around you. So
He fixed my camera. I'm here. Go ahead.
okay, but most of your brain is being consumed with what's coming off of that iPad, and that child is
Yeah.
absorbing everything it's seeing, all the images, all the words, all the vocabulary, the mannerisms that they're watching the characters do it. And then you've got the innuendos of like basically like hidden messages and stuff too. You know,
Yeah.
what about when you watch those like programs that I say programs like I'm an old man, but that have like little hidden messages and jokes. I posted one on IG earlier where I had like a Sesame Street clip where Ernie and some guy was trying to sell him eights, and it was a number skit on Sesame Street, but the little guy was holding his jacket open. He was like, "You want to buy an 8?" And it was
Hmm.
a number 8, and Ernie's like, "I can't buy an 8. I don't got any money." I just bought some nines, and I'm like, man, wow, man, like look at the jokes that are in like a kid show. But
Yeah.
what do you expect, man, when you do that? Like, what are the? I'm gonna ask you your opinion. Like, what do you expect, good and bad, from starting a kid off with an iPad or two? Okay, and would you do it yourself personally? Because I know your kids are a little older.
My kids are a little older, but we did have tablets, we did have phones, we did have toy tablets.
Okay,
Shanae says most of these parents spending all their time on social media. Of course, their kids are going to follow.
I agree.
Um, I won't look at technology like a gun. Okay, I won't look at technology like a gun because a gun is used in one form, one fashion, and it's used to shoot, to neutralize a threat, or to kill, to harm. I would use I would I would more akin it to a hammer. Okay,
Yeah,
a hammer. It's a tool. It's a tool, and if used in the right way, it can be it can be super effective. If used in the wrong way, it can be deadly. Okay, uh, putting the tablet is not an issue into a child's hands, depending on how much time you give those kids behind that on those screens. If you can monitor and manage the amount of time that they're inundated with that, then you may have a better footing on in doing it. A gun is a tool that can protect or harm, right? But its purpose is to do damage, to inflict damage. There is no other use for a gun other than to inflict damage. It can be used as protection, but it's used as a damage. That's a fact. Bruh said we definitely need to let them use but limited. Our oldest son doesn't touch anything until the schoolwork and chores are done. Managing that. Not only that, but paying attention to what they're looking at, paying attention to what they're watching. Um, Guns are used to protect yourself and you.
but
Parents
see,
don't, Parents get mad because they don't know shit. They want to blame social media and the school system, but it's your responsibility as a parent to make sure your kids get what they need. It's also your responsibility to um, manage your kids' exposure.
but I
Okay.
think the gun analogy for what Arizona Ron and them are getting at is basically talking about the whole opposite ends of the spectrum of the good and
Right.
bad. You know what I'm saying? Of a gun, like you got the protection, and then you got the harmful use of a gun. With social
Mm-hmm.
media, you got the education, the social networking, the business, and the whatever you can do for the community type aspect. But then you also have the bullying, the negative imagery, all the dark
Right.
internet, and things of that nature. So, we're talking about an ability for exactly our parents blame TV. It's exposure. It's like what you just said. Okay, go ahead, man. It's
Yeah,
exposure.
yeah, no, that's exactly what we talk about. See, when we were growing up, our parents only had to manage two things. All they had to manage was the
Music and the
television
TV
and the people that we hung out with. That's it. They
and
only had to
music.
manage those two things: the television and the people that we hung out with. Those were the only avenues of exposure. Kids nowadays, they have a cell phone, which is a computer in their hand. It gives them access to the entire world that is
Answer
out there.
that question, okay? Answer
Yo,
Shanae's question.
what is a good age to allow your kids to have social media? Now, what do you consider social media at that point? Social media, is it TikTok? Is it YouTube? Is it Instagram? Is it Snapchat? My kids in my house, my rule was social media isn't allowed for our kids because it's too easy to be see and be exposed to too much. And I get that, but at some point, the
But
kids are going
I
to have to
wanna
be
I wanna
exposed to
ask
it,
James. I wanna
or
ask James K real quick though, real quick. But is that because he doesn't really want to manage it to a certain extent, because it's kind of like I'm just cutting it off. Period. You know what I mean? Because
yeah,
once you
well,
allow once you allow your kids to have those outlets, can you really track it? Can you really follow up? Hey, you can learn some
Eh,
good shit on
what-
TikTok.
well, yeah. What you can do is you can either be real strict about it or you can manage it. Now, I'm going to always tell you to manage it, mainly because look, the internet is a vast wealth of information that
Hmm.
is at the fingertips of our kids that we've never in a generation had before like this. Okay. I just took my one of my daughters over to my mom's house and she saw the Encyclopedia Britannicas on the wall. And I was like, yo, this was our YouTube. This was our internet right here. This is what we learned from. If we
Yeah,
need to real learn something, this is where we went. You can learn great information on YouTube, TikTok, um, any social media platform that gives information. You can learn a lot from. However, there's always a dark side to it that the kids are that people are going to be exposed to. There's always the good information and bad information. The same thing with social media. I think we all know the bad things happens to it, the bullying. We know, the pornography, how to build bombs, how to make
yeah,
weapons, how to do other stuff, watching people die. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? All that crazy stuff, graphic stuff that people are exposed to. At the same time, social media can give that kid that has an issue with social interaction and opportunity without being under a complete ball of stress to look at a camera and talk to kids or meet people in that way of fashion.
But
At
is
the same
that
token,
real social interaction?
what that does is that allows them to practice so that when they get into the real world, they get out there, they can actually go and talk to people and not be as afraid.
See, I
Is it?
disagree. Okay, I think that is a false sense of substitution for social interaction. I don't think you talking into a camera has anything close to you being in the neighborhood or in a place of business with other real people. That's just
Mm,
my belief. I think the camera and the computer and the barrier of whatever device you're using is a false sense of security.
okay.
Because when you're in a room full of people and you're talking and you're trying to convey your confidence or like deliver a point, will you be that
Hmm.
confident when you see 20 people in front of you versus just that camera? I'm
Hmm.
just asking. I'm not
No,
trying to
no,
give you hard a debate.
no, 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 no. That's fine because on that flip side, you have the introvert who feels like they socially awkward, right?
But is
Person that
but is that introvert though, because he's going on YouTube, is he really being social?
is he being social?
Or is
If
he
he's in a
talking to
if
himself?
let's say if he's on a platform like not well like this, right? He's on a platform like this where he has a voice, right? And he can talk and he can interact, or a Zoom meeting or whatever the hell it is, and he's in they're in the comfort of their own home, and they may have a little more confidence in speaking up and having a conversation versus being in that being in that moment in that social arena where they might clam up and not be able to do so.
Okay, that's what's up.
That's
So
what
I
that's what
asked,
I'm
so I
talking about.
asked James Stewart, right? And he
Hmm.
responded. He said, "Nah, that's not it. But we believe in kids remaining kids. We definitely
Hmm.
manage it because all tablets and phone have daily limits, and we check the history and everything. It's just certain things we don't allow them to see, and I respect that.
Yeah.
And that's where you got to draw the line in the sand. So I want to
Right.
ask you, Ken, in the chat as well. What do you expect when you give the kids the iPad at that early age? Like, let's not even talk about, Instagram and TikTok, but when you're giving the child the iPad at 2 and 3, is that a pacifier? Is that an educational pacifier for that moment, or are you really expecting them to learn from that tablet? Like, what are you expecting when you give it to them? And then how long do you expect them to be able to function using that tablet in an appropriate way?
Hmm. People give those kids those pieces of technology for different reasons. Right? They want their little ass. That's one reason. They want their little ass to be quiet, right?
But
Which
how
is
long?
not
But
always.
how long is that good?
It, it can be good and it can be bad. Okay, there's three ways.
Exactly.
There's three ways that you can learn. Right? It's auditory, it's tactile, and then
And
there's visual.
kinesthetic.
When babies are young, iPad gives them all three pretty much and allows them it can help with development, right? But it's got to be used not only educational wise, but it also has to be used in moderation like Jane said. the one thing we learned is
Absolutely.
James and his significant other has a great um, plan in place to make sure to manage the exposure of their kids to it, and that's the important thing we want to get across is have a
That's a
plan
good point. That's a
on
great point.
moderating the exposure that your kids have to that stuff.
And set
Um,
your boundaries and guidelines so everybody's on the same page.
yeah, set the boundaries and guidelines because we all know, and we are guilty of it too. Because when YouTube and stuff first came out, like you can literally fall down a rabbit hole and be watching YouTube videos for hours
It's terrible for adults, man. It's
and
not
not
good for me.
not even notice. We do that with everything that we have now. We do that with Facebook. We do that with Instagram. You do that with
TikTok.
TikTok.
Yep.
TikTok is terrible because it makes you think because they're all shortened to like shorter than YouTube videos, shorter than that a couple of them don't matter, but those couple add up to 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, what you doing bringing
And
all these
that's the
people
and
in
that's
here and
the
we talking,
beauty.
Nicole?
And that's the and that's the beauty of like a TikTok. They figured out the short videos can turn into a long usage. You know what I'm saying? Because those 2 minute clips, once you watch 40 of them, you in there. You
Yeah.
know, and it's definitely it's tactful, but
Yeah.
you
Let me
know,
go ahead and do a clubhouse moment, right? Hey, I want to go ahead and reset the room so everybody who just came in the room here, and would like to let you know what tonight we're talking on All Dressed Up podcast. We're
all
talking
right, all
about
right, all
who's
right.
raising your kids and the impact on social media. Thank you guys for coming in.
Catch
Hey,
on
Mr.
up.
Cole, thank you for the raid with 5 people. Let's just reset the room. I'm tired of Clubhouse. But yo,
That's a new phrase that you hate. Reset the room.
reset the room.
How you
Reset
reset
the
the room?
room.
Do you push a
Piggyback,
button?
reset the room. Jesus. All right. So, so
Oh, let me ask you
um,
this question though, right?
go ahead.
Because this is like the good old fashioned question when you start talking about social media and like the internet and phones, right?
Yeah.
What do you think about when you see teenagers or young adults go to dinner? Clubhouse is a true narcissist that.
Yes, it is.
What do you think about when even like the young 20 somethings go out to dinner and they're in their phone the whole time? Like, have you been out to dinner and like felt a certain way when like you and your significant other are talking, having eye contact, having a nice conversation, like traditional human beings, versus the table like three tables over, and no shots at them, but like they're in their phone the entire time. Like that's what I'm talking about not being truly social. What do you think about that?
Social media does two things. It brings us together and pulls us apart. When you're at an event, it don't matter. If you're at an event and you see everybody on their phones, they are no longer in the moment. They have forgotten about the moment. They don't care
They
about the
clocked
moment.
out.
They have clocked out. They have gone to what their idiosyncrasies have taught them. I have a minute. Let me check this app. Let me check what's going on here. Let me not think about what we're doing right now. It annoys the hell out of me. Look,
Me
no
too.
phones. Hold on. And we all go blind messing with them, by the way.
Oh, hey,
We need
check this
regular
out.
glasses with blue blocker, UV shit on it, and all that other crazy stuff.
Check this
Look,
out, K Dizzle, real quick. Did you hear about my girl told me this, right? How the GPS and technology can actually bring on an onset of early dementia because you're not utilizing your brain and exercising your brain to remember where you're driving and where you're going. So you're relying so much on the GPS that it's actually affecting, how much you're, going to be able to utilize your memory for later on in life. I think that's a very interesting scientific hypothesis. You know what I'm saying? Is
yeah,
that true?
you're going deep into the science right
Hey,
now.
bro, I'm
You're
telling you,
going,
man. I've been doing
whoa, man.
research. I don't get on my platform and just talk shit, man. I get on here and try to bring it to the people, man. That's how we're gonna grow organically. You're very witty, and I gotta talk facts.
Look, look, the internet, social media, your phones, all that stuff is a gift and a curse.
The
Why?
internet's
Because
scary, bro.
you have all the access. You have access to. I've heard about and read on that argument.
I'm telling you,
That's
man.
super deep, right? That's super deep. everybody tapping in there. Oh, I heard about
Yeah,
that short term.
yeah.
Look, that's what it does. It gives you, you no longer have to think anymore if you have a phone in your hand, and you choose not to think as much when you have a phone in your hand, because this thing will allow you to look up whatever you can't think of at that point, because you can
Artificial.
go, hey Siri, hey Google, give me the square root of 9,742, and it will give it to you, and you don't have to think anymore. That's the good
Don't
and
worry
bad thing.
about it, baby. You don't need
Don't
to
worry
worry about
about it.
what
You
Clubhouse
don't know
is,
what
baby.
Clubhouse is, don't worry about Clubhouse.
So, so technology and AI, in my opinion, and what it's trying to do to the new generation is turn these kids into cyborgs, man. Like what that means to no, seriously, follow me. Everything that we keep advancing as we go forward is bringing technology and humans closer. So everything's about, and it's only getting worse, James. I'm telling you, I agree, sir, because all the technology. No, baby, don't look it up.
Don't you do that
See,
to yourself.
y'all telling my wife to go on Clubhouse and shit, man. I don't like that. Time
More
out,
like
all
drones
dressed
than
up.
cyborgs. More like
All right,
drones than
okay, let's
cyborgs.
go with that, Fo.
That's
What's up,
fair.
Photo? So more like drones, right? So now the AirPod is in your ear. You got every app tracking your movements. Every time you get a new app, you have to read the privacies because at any given moment, one of those programs are going to be allowed to track you. So if you got an iPhone, don't commit a crime, and that's a whole different conversation. But pretty soon, and just like with the vehicles, they're autonomous. Like they want us to be an autopilot, and whoever they is they. But the more and more we're in autopilot, the less and less we're using our creative thinking. And that's
Mhm.
another dope topic to go into is the technology causing kids to be less creative, or is it helping kids be more creative? Like think about it.
It's,
Am I now being distracted because I'm playing too many games or I'm on social media when before I might be painting, I might be dancing. What's up,
hey
Bianca?
Bianca.
I might be playing sports. I might be doing other things that's active. But
Right.
now because I've got TikTok, all my aspirations are put on hold because I'm addicted, to sit on there for hours at a time. Is it stunting our creative thinking and our creative our creative genius in these kids? What you think, bro?
I think it's going back to the hammer analogy, bro. It's the hammer analogy. It's a gift and a curse. The gift is you have access into all this wealth of knowledge and information that you've never had before. In no other generation has had that type.
A lot
At
of
the
people
same
saying it's on
time,
the parents.
it's on the parents as far as the moderation is concerned. Um, but you can either use it to be creative, or you can use it and be destructive, or it can be destructive to you by the addiction to it, the
Mm.
sheer addiction to it. I have a problem, and my problem is I don't like notifications. Right? I don't like to open my phone and see those bubbles saying, 1, 2, 3
It
emails and
makes you
stuff like.
feel like
I
you got
have
work to
to,
do.
huh?
It makes you
I,
feel like you got things to complete, like
I
tasks.
have to, yeah, I have to tap that bubble and take them motherfuckers off.
That
So
means you're
I have
OCD
to.
a little bit. You're like me, bro.
I
That
have
means
that
you're a
shit
little
has to go away.
OCD.
So that
These
OCD.
kids
So what?
learn. These kids learn these TikTok dances and don't know basic shit. No bullshit. If I see another kid do it, she's a runner, she's a track star, dance, and can't tell me what's 8 times 6, then turn that shit off and go sit the fuck down. I'm tired of it. I'm tired
It's
of
just it's different. It's a, like I said, it's a positive and negative. You can use it as a tool to be more creative, or you can use it and be less effective in
it. Got a
society.
question for you. I'm gonna throw one
Come on.
at you, right? Would you rather, if you had the choice, would you rather a much more technologically advanced upbringing for children, or would you rather be more traditional and have it be more old school social? If you could pick Kermit in your community, how it would rock out. Would you rather everybody be out in the neighborhood together, learning each other and conversing, or would you rather people just be doing everything they want to do in the comforts of their home on a computer?
Well, that's
What do you think would be the best for society? That's a deep
what do
question.
I think that would be the best for society? If everybody, you're asking me if it was like our generation, would it be better?
Right,
That's what you're asking me, right?
right. Is our generation better than the direction it's going?
I
Like
love
Shanae
to
says,
see.
she loves to see kids playing outside. That does not happen with the iPads and the iPhones.
Look, but you have to realize song catches more attention than eight
They
times.
know all the words, Bianca. You know your kids know all the words to them damn songs. They know all the words.
Look, I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this. I would rather it be more technologically advanced. And this is why I'm saying this.
Okay.
There are more um more hundred thousandaires and more millionaires under the age of 18, right? Than there ever have been in
Out
any
of
other
Silicon
generation.
Valley.
There have ever been in any other generation. The sheer ideal and the sheer opportunity that YouTube provides our kids as a source of income to do what they love and never have to work for anyone else again in life is unparalleled than we ever had as far as an opportunity right now. Okay, it ever had. There's a guy. I'm gonna give you one. I'm gonna give you maybe two names. There's a young kid named Corey Kenshin, who is a
Okay.
YouTube. He's on YouTube. He's got almost 10 million views. Wealth at an age can be a curse.
At a young age can
Yes,
be a
it
curse.
can. But what the access to that wealth and that opportunity has done has completely changed the playing field. Imagine.
But it goes back to what you were saying earlier, and I got to cut you off because
Go ahead.
we're grazing over this point, and I think it's too important for what we're talking about. It's the exposure, and it's how old they're getting exposed to certain topics and
Hmm.
certain things, because social media and the internet, Kermit, can be great. You
Yeah.
know, you can have all the tools and use all these devices to do a lot of things in this world. But
Right.
if you're giving it to the kids at the wrong place at the wrong time, it's going to backfire. It's not going to be effective. And that's what we're talking about. You got to
Hmm.
be able to make a plan. You know, I like what James Stewart was saying in the chat. Have a plan, set the boundaries, find out what your expectations are for what you're trying to get the kids to learn at the
Hmm.
younger ages. And then once they get to an adult age, just know that social media can only be good in moderation. It's just like any other addiction.
Right. Is now then that's what we're talking about. We're talking you asked me the question was, would I rather have it back in the day when kids were
Right.
going outside? Or whether would I rather have it now? I would rather have it now because it provides them with more opportunities. And when I was giving the example of Corey Kenshin, who, he bought his mom a house, he's doing his thing, making a bunch of money a month at a very young age, he now has the rest of his entire life to do whatever he wants without the fear or worry of money and create generational wealth. Now, Bianca said, "Is it sustainable?" It's sustainable
Shanae
because
said, is it sustainable?
one thing that these social media platforms provide that school has never taught and will never teach is the man, the masterful art of residual income. And that's doing one thing and getting paid for it over and over and over and over and over
But
again.
how many kids and how many of these people are using their platforms for actual positive shit though, bro? Like all half of these
Thousands of kids.
influencers.
Thousands
No,
of
no,
kids.
but the other
You
half
no no no
though,
stop. Wait a minute. Stop. Wait a minute. You gave the example earlier of our kids going on YouTube watching other kids unbox and play with toys, right?
not those kids though.
No, 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 no. Right. But you use that example.
Right,
Another example is going on YouTube, our kids watching other kids play video games, right?
right.
Right. And then you have another set of kids on YouTube watching other kids on YouTube, right?
It's like Inception. It's like
Huh?
Inception.
It's Inception. It's crazy, right?
It's a
But they're
dream
doing
inside a
these
dream.
things. They're doing these things and they're generating income and doing what they love. Yes, it gives
Yes,
a false sense of
yes,
reality.
yes.
YouTube stars with no real talent or skills. And some of these YouTube stars don't pretend, some of them don't pretend to have talents or skills. All they're doing is living life. and
That's funny, yeah.
are
That's funny how
watching them.
you said that.
Our
What'd you
kids are
say? You
watching
said
them.
some of them. You said they don't pretend to have talents or skills. No
They don't.
bullshit, bro.
And they and my our kids are watching them, and they're getting paid when our kids watch them. So
And
they
so, but
mess
so, how, but what do you? Okay, so
our
what
residual
happens when that?
income.
So what happens when these kids are getting that false sense of reality passed on to them? Now your
That's
kids are
That's
affected.
where we come in as parents. That's where we come in as parents and use that moderation tool of what they're watching, how much of it they're watching, and what their intake levels are. Mine's Kennedy has a YouTube about room decorating. She decorating the room every day,
That's a positive way of
every
using it.
day,
Yeah.
right? And she has thousands of hits, and she's getting paid per hit. Every time that ad comes up, they're getting paid. There are families on here making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on YouTube. This is what I'm talking about as far as the social media aspect of it being great for our generation, but also the bad part of it is our kids being addicted to this stuff. It's
Is
a
it
different
that?
form of
Is it
addiction.
that? Is it that, or is it the poor parenting?
It's mm,
Is the bad?
mm.
Is the bad part all on the parents?
so
Shanae's
so
been
let,
saying the parents the whole night.
so look, no money coming that way from your shit because you ain't got no video up. Look, it's the
You got to
same
get
thing.
this. Yeah,
See
produce.
what you're saying. What the question that you just asked me was like saying, "Hey, is it is the parent a bad parent because
Of
um
course.
teenage no is the parent a bad parent because teenage hef went out and smoked weed?"
Mm. Is this a rhetorical question?
No.
Why you
Mama's in
got
the
to
room,
use
right?
me? Why you got to use me in your shit, bro?
Mom's in the room. No, I'm giving you an example, right?
Oh.
Is 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 mama half a bad parent because young half went out and smoked weed?
Nah, because at
No,
the end of
right?
the day, you parent your children to understand that they're gonna have decisions to make, and you really
That
want to
is
prepare
correct.
your kids.
Uh-oh, he don't. Oh, what the hell, Clarence? His laptop probably burned. But yeah, that is the point that we're talking about. Um, he did it without you knowing anything. Mom said you did it without her knowing.
I
So
actually, I was a late bloomer. I ain't start hitting the ganja until I was grown, probably.
you gonna say it? You gonna lie live on the podcast? I'm gonna rewind this, and your friends gonna come on and tell the truth. God damn it! Look,
Oh man, exposure.
is the parent to blame if your kid shot up a school?
Mm.
That's a great question.
That's the
I
next
want Chad
topic.
to
That's
answer that
next
question.
episode. We should do that next episode.
No, no. In chat, is the parent to blame if your kid shot up a school?
Your parents are blamed for everything, K Dizzle. Your parent is going to be the scapegoat for everything, and that's what the new generation is. See, you haven't talked about that, but now we're living in a generation full of excuses. Everybody's got an excuse, and everybody's accepting excuses. You can't say anything about anybody now because you're shaming that type of person, as opposed to voicing a real opinion. Right now, freedom of speech is so false. It's funny, man. You can't say anything. So at the end of the day, back then we were held accountable. And that's a whole nother episode. Yes, who gave them access to guns in their location? We're talking about kids being accountable. Because a parent can be accountable and a parent can teach their kids so many things. But at what point is it fair to draw the line and say that child has to be accountable for their decisions that they made on social or in reality?
Kids have to be taught accountability. Parents have
From
to
from day
enforce
one. From day
Parents have
one.
to enforce accountability. On that question, is the parent to blame if your kid shot up a school? The answer is yes. And the reason
Is it
why,
though? Is it?
yes. All right, their
Wow.
parents. Is that parent involved in that child's life enough to notice he is having issues? She is having issues. There are concerns. No.
That's tough, K.
That's not tough. If you know your kids and if you're involved in their lives, right? You know when there's an issue. You know when there's something
That's a
wrong.
good
You
point. That's a
know
good.
when
If
there's
you're
a left
involved,
turn,
right? Yeah. If you're
huh?
involved, you would.
You
I agree
you
with
have
you.
to you have to insert yourself in and figure out what the issue is. As a parent, you know what your kids, you don't know what they're going through, but you know when something's wrong. And if
Right.
you're not getting involved, if you're not in,
You're not parenting at that point.
you're not parenting at that point.
You're
You're just
you're
letting
too
things happen.
separated. Yeah, you're letting your kids take control of the situation.
Well, and you're just not there. You're not being present. Look,
Mm.
my dad will pull me up when he saw or thought I was heading down the wrong path.
He
Right?
probably yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
grown, and my mother still knows me like the back of her hand because our parents our parents were involved. They
Bianca
know
popping
when they
off.
know. And it's nothing that you can do or say. You just know. I'm going to know if something is wrong with my kids
That's because I
because you're
walk around
involved.
wearing it on my face. You know when I'm pissed off. You ain't gonna have no
because
questions.
because you're involved in your present, right? And that's the biggest thing. If kids, who's raising your kids? If social media is raising your kids, that means you're not present as a parent.
Not at
That means
all.
you're not paying attention as a parent, and you're not getting involved with their lives and making sure they're going down the right path. Sometimes he would get me to the before a wrong step. Sometimes I had to learn that there are consequences for my actions.
Man, he was like a guardian angel, man. That's a blessing, man.
Phew.
And a lot of kids don't have that, Mr. Stewart.
Yeah, a
And
lot of
and and
kids don't
that's
have that.
and
It,
that's what
it,
we're talking about now. Okay, go ahead. But a
and
lot of kids
and
don't
that's
have
why
that
we get into
stuff.
what we're getting. We can leave it to technology to raise our kids, and some of them can turn out okay. Not a lot of them. Not a lot of them. Um, we don't want to leave it to the internet because the internet is such a broad and vast place that
We
it's the
don't want
easiest
to
way to
leave it
get.
to the
It's an
internet.
easy
That's the
way to
quote of
get
the
lost.
show.
Yeah, that's
We
it.
don't want to leave it to the internet. What's 410 talking about? I think we all know
Oh,
when you
we all
pissed
know.
off
We
after.
all know when you get pissed out. Everybody know what everybody know.
Mm.
But yeah, so and the other crazy thing is if they don't know how to use it effectively, if you don't teach your kids
That's the
how to
point.
use it effectively, so I'm gonna tell you what I told my kids because when they started having trouble in school with the
What you
pandemic
say,
and
K
all that,
Loser? What you say, bro?
this is what I told my kids when they started having trouble in school. I said, look, I don't understand why you're not being able to work through this work or that you're not understanding. If you don't know the answer to the problem, look it up.
So
I
you're
said,
saying when they were having a hard time with a certain subject or whatnot, you would say
Google
that.
that shit. I'm not look.
Okay.
I'm not condoning cheating, and I've said this to my kids. I said it to everybody. I said I ain't condoning cheating. I'm not, but Google is a powerful tool. Before it was Google, it was Ask Jeeves. It was freaking Yahoo search engine, but Google is the go-to de facto. You can literally put a whole problem in there and it
Basically, you
will
told
find
them
the
to
answer.
cheat.
I didn't tell them. I
I was
said
gonna say that.
look, I don't condone cheating. I told my kids the thing about school is you go to school to learn responsibility and partial accountability, right? And you also learn how to socially interact. 80% of that information that you're going to learn in school, you're not going to use on a day to day basis for the rest of your life. Unless, unless you're going to be a mechanical, architectural engineer or space pilot.
Okay, so let's talk about
That's
this
it.
real quick.
Go
So
ahead.
so you have the ability to almost in a way, if you're being a good parent, right? You
Oh,
almost have more control of setting the curriculum up for your children using the internet yourself, from what you're saying, than actually depending on the regular educational system. From what you're saying, right? Because if
yeah.
your kids are going to school listening to the bullshit that they're teaching them, they're not
Right.
teaching the kids how to be successful in 2021.
No, they're not.
So
School was never.
you can sit there as a parent and put a blueprint down and
Yep.
use the internet to teach your own kids if you
Yep.
really wanted to.
Yep.
If you really
Yep.
wanted to.
Exactly. You give your kids a blueprint for success. School is never designed.
They're controlling the narrative in school. They controlled the narrative when we were in school.
School was never designed for you for to make you a successful, right? It
Never
was never
was.
designed to make you
It
successful.
never taught you how to be an adult.
No, it will never be that way. It was never designed that way. It was to teach you a good education, to go to college, or learn a trade, and get a job. It's not teaching you
What y'all
how to be an
represent?
entrepreneur, how to make income for yourself, or how to be a successful parent,
It's
or
teaching you. It's
how to
teaching
be how
you
to
how
be
to live. It's
productive
teaching you
society.
how to live in the system.
That's it. That's it.
It's
So
teaching you how to be a 9 to 5 worker.
no, and look, and Bianca says, so what happened to come to dad work the problem? Look, some of that shit I don't forgot. Look, I graduated. I got my diploma. I'm good. If I can't
Some
help
of
you
that
with it,
shit I done forgot.
if I can't help you with it, you need to go to Google or you need to ask your teacher because
You
I'm
said
not going to
Ask
sit there.
Jeeves. I don't even think
I,
Ask Jeeves has a domain anymore. You sending kids to
I'm,
Ask Jeeves,
I'm
and they're
just
gonna be
telling
looking
you
at
my
us like,
age. Look,
come on, Uncle Kermit. How you
look,
send me to
no, no, no.
Jeeves?
Why tell? Look, and Jane said, look, why tell them when they can learn for themselves? One of the
They don't
things you
know how
got
to
to
learn
do
for
is
themselves.
they have to be able to go problem solve and find the answers on their own, because if they don't,
Right.
if they continue to come to you and use you as a crutch, right? Pimp dot, I don't give a shit. You can pimp dots my ass. Look, I graduated. My job don't ask me about pim dots. Okay, I ain't never had a job that asked me about pim dots,
Never
like I
asked me
said.
about PEMDAS either.
So
I never no.
they have to learn how to be they have to learn how to be
Is
self-sustaining.
PEMDAS, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally?
Yes, it is.
Oh my God. Arizona
This
just typed, please excuse my dear
she
Aunt
said
Sally.
Google ass whoopings help
Oh
kids
my
helps great
goodness.
kid great.
You're right. Google ass opens quarter of the night.
where where do we go to learn on our own? Where do we go? Where did you go to learn on your own? You went to a book. You went to your textbook that you got from school. You went to the dictionary. That's where you went to learn on your own. The kids have a much more powerful tool in the name of Siri, Google, whatever you use.
I
Cortana
think
if
I
you're
think
a Microsoft person.
I think the
But
biggest thing, right, real quick though, Kerm, I think the biggest thing that I took from tonight and honestly from you is you gotta have a plan. Like you can
yes.
create a blueprint around education. You can create a framework around education and learn and make the most of your brain as opposed to filling yourself with useless, facts and things that won't help you become an adult in today's society. Like if
Mhm.
if you're gonna ask me if I rather send my kid to school or use social media or the internet, honestly, if I could set up a good curriculum, I've actually heard stories online with people who are actually teaching their own kids, and it's
A, a-
becoming very
a lot of
popular.
people homeschool. A lot of
And
people homeschool.
they're not teaching kids what we learned in school about Christopher Columbus in 1492, and they're not teaching kids about the Civil War and Abe Lincoln and all that. They're talking about different things that will help you learn about building your credit, buying a house, finances, investing, banking. You know what I'm saying? Real stuff.
Mhm.
What you laughing at? What
I'm
happened?
laughing at Bianca. She got
Oh,
ADHD.
she on fire.
Yes, she is. So, but you're right 100%. Like I said, school was never structured or designed to make you successful in life. It was only meant
How much of school do you remember?
how much? Not a
How much
lot.
is get out of,
I'm
out
gonna
of a
tell you.
hundred percent of what you were taught out of 12 grades, not even college? How much did
Let
you
me
retain?
let me just say this, okay? Because when I went to high school, I stopped going to school on Mondays.
You just said, "Fuck it, huh?" You wanted a 3 day weekend
I'm
every.
just
You
being
said, "If I'm
honest.
gonna sign up for this, I gotta have a 3 day weekend." You had a pay
I'm,
plan.
I'm just being honest. You can ask any of my friends. I was not
Oh, good question.
unless it was a test. I was not at school on Mondays, and I'm
Do
just
you
real
think
talk.
homeschool helps social skills? Hell no.
Hell
That's
no,
where you get your Elon Musk's from. You're not gonna get your Oprah Winfrey from homeschooling. You know what I'm
no.
saying? It
School is
depends on what
designed
you're
to teach
looking
you how to
for.
be a cog. Just another again, exactly, photo, exactly.
Photo hitting a nut, hit on
Homeschool,
the head.
yeah, homeschool has
Hmm.
its good things as bad things. You're going to get a lot of more knowledge and wealth of information and the right information to be successful. Unfortunately, you do lose out on the social skills. The biggest draw to public schools or private schools is the social interaction. the ability for a child or adolescent to be able to interact with different people outside of their races, colors, genders, and everything else.
You got to
And it gives
understand.
them an experience of the world.
All right, let me ask you a question. Is the future geared up to where we're going to operate without having to be as social? That's the question. Because
No,
if we're going to be functioning without the old fashioned ways of communication, then maybe it's going to be different. You know what
no.
I'm saying?
One of the things that 2020 taught us is how important social interaction is.
Humans are
How
made to be
important,
social.
how important
Humans are
that
made to
social
be social.
interaction is.
The
Um,
species is made to be social. The species isn't designed to be isolated
right.
as a whole.
It taught us how important being in that physical presence is. With the amount of kids that fell off the wagon during that time or struggled during that time, shows you, and people struggled during that time, shows you how much physical interaction, social skills are important. Like I said, we're nothing without one another. There is a difference when you're in the room with somebody and sharing a common bond versus, like I said, over the camera. You can get some things through cameras, through videos, like this, but but if you're in person, if this was a live show, like, comedy hits different when you're there, right?
Right,
Stand up hits way different when you're there.
right.
I've seen Michael Blackson in person, and he was hella funnier than I've ever seen him on the screen,
I think
because
he's
it
funny
hits different. That
regardless.
social interaction is completely different. Even though I went, he fried my ass because I was sitting in the front row.
What do you
It
say
was,
to you?
huh?
What do you say
I'm
to
not going to
you?
repeat it right now. Maybe on another episode.
Oh
But
man, you can't bring up that shit now. So
but
he fired your ass up.
yeah, he fried my ass up. Motherfucker say, hey, motherfucker say, look at you, you silly thug. I don't know if you want to rob me or fix my computer. I said, God damn.
Damn, shit, that's a pretty good assumption.
Yeah, yeah. Teamwork makes the dream work. Teamwork
I
make the
mean, the
dream work.
biggest the biggest thing is, you're gonna have a lot of people, a lot of smart motherfuckers walking around in the next 20 years not knowing how to talk to each other. And that's
Mm,
gonna be what we're dealing with because I think what we dealt with coming up was just learning how to deal with different personalities, man. And
mm-hmm,
when you work with each other, knowing how to handle different personalities is important. And I
mm-hmm.
think if you're running a business, that's also very important. But that's why I asked the question: is that going to be necessary in the future for a lot of these internet businesses? We don't know. We'll see. But it's a really good topic, man. We really talked about a lot tonight. How is technology affecting your children? Are you
Yeah.
guys setting and forgetting your kids? You guys throwing them the iPad, putting them on TikTok? Are they getting their brain ate up by the internet? Are you stunning their growth and development? Is what we're talking about tonight.
And if when you have kids and you're giving them that access, just make sure that you have a plan to moderate and manage what they're seeing, having that. And one thing that we have to have as parents, now, black people have to have the conversation about police. We also have to now have that conversation about social media, right? We
Absolutely.
have to sit our kids down, and before we give them that access, have that conversation about social media, what's real and what's not real, and take it as a grain of salt. Because if you don't set the precedent up front, like you said, it can lead to believing in that false perception that people give online versus in real life. We all know somebody that pump fakes hard online, and then when you see him in person, you be like, "This motherfucker here,
Man, I'm
it
gonna
ain't
tell you
what you
now.
make it to be." So you got to have those conversations. You got to limit the access. You got you have to have a plan. You don't want social media raising your kids, and you don't want them to believe the things on social media as that being real life. Real
I
life.
think I think one of our biggest aspects of communication and just growth and development in life with our species is how we communicate with each other.
Mm,
You can sit here and talk about any type of form of technology you want to talk about until your face turns blue. But everybody is they always say, like, mass communication comes from media, right? Which is technology, and that's what controls the masses. So if you think about it, like what Arizona's saying, dealing with personalities is a true skill. Being out there and being around people and learning how to understand, what people are meaning, what people are trying to accomplish is huge. Like, I think the whole world would have to change in order for the internet to be the only way we can educate our kids, in my opinion. Because
Mhm.
I think the social aspect that we grew up on is still going to be vital,
Oh, hell yeah. Hell
you
yeah.
know?
It is.
So,
It is.
but good talk,
So
man.
look. Look, we had some very strong opinions, man. Shout out to everybody that came through with an opinion. Because it doesn't, none of this matters unless we have an actual conversation with the people. Me and Hef can talk till we blue in the face, but if
Right.
there's nobody else in the conversation, then it doesn't work. Like, without you asking questions and be able to help us direct which path, or giving some insight, none of this matters. None of it matters. The conversation don't matter if you're not involved, right? um but look, we are here every single Sunday at 9 p.m. I ain't gonna say on the dot, but we here.
Hey,
But we gonna
listen,
be
man,
here.
we 16 in, man.
Be 16
We
in. Look, I know
16 in.
I know some people that got podcasts is like on episode 152 and all that.
Hey,
We just trying to make it week to week. Okay.
you
Week
know.
to week, wherever we go, we're gonna get there. Look, you can find us right here on Facebook, ADU Podcast. Tell
Hey,
your
look,
neighbor,
y'all.
tell your neighbor's neighbor. Tell your kids to share it on social media. Maybe we get some 12-year-olds in here
Hey, Kate,
spamming us.
before you sign out, don't be afraid, chat. We didn't get nobody text in. Like, don't be afraid of us now. I know
Don't
y'all
be
been like talking
afraid.
a lot of shit out there in the chat, but come on in.
Look,
Kate is gonna put that number up. Text in
I'm gonna
next
put
week.
the number up. I'm always gonna put the number up, but just know, if you don't ever learn anything else from our podcast,
We gonna get you
learn
up out
from
of here.
Bianca Wilson that
Oh,
hoes
hoes can grow.
can grow. Okay, hoes
Look,
can
man.
grow. Hoes can grow. Even if she was a hoe from the hood, she can
Can
grow.
they grow with social media
Can they?
and technology? Can hoes grow faster with technology or in the streets? Next week,
Man, I ain't look. You can cash
Bianca
at $40
Wilson's gonna
so you can get
co-host.
$40 quicker through Cash App than you will by hand, bro.
Hey, man, I'm gonna tell you right now. Fuck Cash App. That's all I'm gonna
I don't
say.
know. I don't know what they did to you. But
Oh, don't even worry about it.
we'll talk about that another time. But look, man, I'm gonna put this up too. Please save this in your phone. Put it somewhere safe whenever you come back. Bring your ass on here. 301-857-1757. If you have super strong opinions, and probably in the next episode, I promise you, because of what it's going to be, you're going to have a super strong opinion about some shit. I
All
promise you.
day,
Save it.
all day.
301-857-1757. We will bring you in the podcast. You can text if you want to come in the podcast, but we would prefer to see your face.
And you
Um,
just might be a co-host one day. Who
you
knows?
just might be a co-host.
We might make a show just for you.
Just for you. We've had that. Arizona Ron, D Thinks Out Loud. Look, man, we love y'all, and we thank y'all every week for coming out. I'm glad you're enjoying it. That means we're doing something right, and we're gonna keep trying to do everything right. Hef, what you got, my man?
Hey, man, you said it, man. Shout out to you. I appreciate you. We 16 in. Bianca Wilson, Patricia Heffler, that's my dukes. She don't like when I
Arizona
say Miss
Ron,
Pat.
James
Arizona
Drew,
Ron,
410 Beard, Photo
Melinda
Dude, Mr.
Carter.
Cole.
Shout out
Shotty
to the
was in the building.
Carters.
Shout out to the Carters. Congratulations to the Carters.
I love you, Shanae.
We love y'all. Watch these playoffs. My Wizards win this week.
We getting back. Russ got to leave that crack alone. Put the crack
0
down.
2 for the Lakers. That's all I'm gonna say. Appreciate you. Come back next Sunday, James, man. We love you, man. We'll holla at y'all. Peace.
And you know, and I know, and they know, and we know, we go all in, you know, and I know, they know,